Now let's start taking the examples. Now here, as you can see that I have already written the squares of 1 to 30. So it's always advisable to learn the squares up to 30. Now let's start finding the square root of 961. So first of all, we will make the pairs of 2 digits from the right hand side. So here in 961, one pair is 61 and the other number 9 is left alone. So we'll just consider 9. Now the second part, that is 61. So here we have to find the number whose square end in 1. So here as we can see that 1 square ends with 1 and here 9 squares end with 1. So here in the second partition we get either 1 or 9 as the answer. Now in the first partition we have 9. So here as we can see that the square of 3 is 9. So here we get 3 as a answer in the first partition. Now we have two answers, that is 31 or 39. But the final answer can only be 1. So for that, we will take the square of a middle number, that is 35. We'll take the square of 35 because they are very easy to find. Let's take the square of 35. So here make a partition. In the first partition, first number plus 1 and multiply by number itself. And in the second partition, multiply 5 by 5. So here we get 4 multiplied by 3, which we get 12. And in the second partition, we get 25. So the square of 35 is 1225. Now as we can see that the square of 35 is 1225, which is greater than 961. So that means that square of 39 will be much bigger than 1225. So the final answer we get is 31. So the square root of 961 is 31. Now let's understand this method better by taking more examples. So now in the second question, we have to find the square root of 784. So here also we'll make the pair from the right hand side. So 84 as the pair and we get single digit over here. So make a partition. Now in the second partition we have 84. We have to check the numbers whose squares end in 4. So we get 2 square. 2 square is 4 and 8 square is 64. So we get two numbers as 4 and 8 in the second partition. Now here in the first partition we have 7. So 7 lies between the square of 2, that is 4, and square of 3, that is 9. So we will take a lesser number. We get 2 as the answer in the first partition. So now we have two answers, either 24 or 28. Now here also we have to take the same method. Now here, in order to find out which number is the square root of 784, we will take the square of 25. So square of 25. Here also we'll make a partition. So 2 multiplied by 2 plus 1, and in the second partition 5 multiplied by 5. So 2 multiplied by 3 we get 6 and here 25. So we get 625 as the answer. Now as we can see that 625 is smaller than 784. So here answer will be a bigger number, that is 28. Now let's take a 4-digit number. So here we have to find the square root of 1936. So the first thing that we do is we'll divide the number into pairs. So 36 as one pair and 19 as one pair. Now make a partition. In the second partition, we have to find the numbers whose squares end in 6. So 6 square is 36, it ends in 6, and square of 4 is 6. So we get 4, 6 and 4 in the second partition. Now we get 19 in the first partition. So we have to find the square of a number which is smaller than 19 or is 19. So here as we can see, square of 4 is 16 and square of 5 is 25. So we have to take a smaller number. 4 square is 16, which is less. So here we get 4 in the first partition. Now we have to get the answer. Now the answer will either be 44 or 46. So here also we'll take the same method. We will find the square of 45. So in the first partition 4 multiply by 5 and in the second partition 5 multiply by 5. So 4 5s are 20 and 25. So we get 2025. So now as we can see 2025 is bigger than 1936. So we will go with the smaller number. So the final answer we get is 44. So the square root of 1936 is 44. Now let's take another example. So here also we'll divide the numbers into pairs. So one pair is 09 and the other pair is 94. Now let's take the second pair, that is 09. So here we have to find the square of a number which ends with 9. Square of 3 ends with 9, 3, and square of 7 ends with 9. So we get two options over here, 3 and 7. Now in the first partition we have 94. So 9 square is 81 and 10 square is 100. So we have to take a smaller number. It is going by 9 square, that is 81. So in the first partition we get 9. Now we have two options, either 93 or 97 is the answer. Now here also we'll take the square of a middle number, that is 95 square, and find out the answer. So make a partition, 9 multiply by 10 and here 5 multiply by 5. So 9025. Since we know now 9025 is smaller than 9409. So a number has to be bigger. So the final answer is 97. Now let's take some bigger numbers over here. So here we have a 5-digit number, that is 13924. So here also we'll start making the pair of numbers. So here 24 is the pair and then 139 is the pair. Now in the second partition we have 24. So we have to find the number whose square ends with 4. Square of 2 ends with 4 and square of 8 ends with 4. So we get 2 and 8 in the second partition. Now in the first partition we have 139. So we have to find the number whose square is around 139. So here square of 11 is 121 and square of 12 is 144. So we'll go with the smaller number and we will consider square of 11, that is 121. So here we get 11 as the answer in the first partition. Now the answer will be either 112 or 118. In order to find the correct answer, we will take the square of 115. So here 11 multiply by 12 and in the second partition 5 multiply by 5. Now 11 multiply by 12 we can do using multiplication by 11. So first number, make a partition, add both the numbers 1 plus 2 and in the last partition write the last number, that is 2. So 1, 3, 2 and here we get 25. So the final answer we get is 13225. Now here as we can see that 13225 is smaller than 13924. So we will go with the bigger number, that is 118. So the square root of 13,924 is 118. Now let's understand the next question. So here we're going to take the pair of 64 and the second pair as 201. Now make a partition. In the second partition, we have to get the square of a number which ends with 4. So here 2 square ends with 4, 2, and here 8 square ends with 4. So 2 and 8 we get in the second partition. Now here we have 201. Now here we have to find the number whose square is less than 201. So here as we can see that the square of 14 is 196. So here we'll write 14. So now either we will get the answer as 142 or 148. In order to find the answer, we can take the square of 145. Now let's take out the square of 145. So here in the first partition, we get 14 multiplied by 15 and in the second partition 5 multiplied by 5. Now 14 multiplied by 15, we can solve it using above base 10 method or we can do crisscross multiplication. So here I'm using above base 10 method. So the base is 10. Let's find out the deviations. So deviations will be plus 4 and plus 5. Now make a partition. In the first partition, first number plus the second deviation. So 14 plus 5. And in the second partition, multiply the deviations, that is 4 multiplied by 5. So we get 19 in the first partition and 20 in the second partition. Now, since the base is 10, so we need to have single digit in the second partition. So this 2 will go and add up over here. So we get 19 plus 2, and in the second partition we get 0. So 210 we get as an answer. And in the second partition we have 5 5s are 25. So the square of 145 is 21025. Now, as we can see, the 21025 is bigger than 20164. So we will get a smaller number. So here the answer will be smaller number, that is 142 will be the final answer.